Okay. Alrighty. Okay. So, what? Today we're going to go into what we call the bakashot, the requests part of the Amidah. What we're requesting, right? We're going to talk about today what some of the things that we request, so that we understand what we're requesting. What are we asking God for? And again, the way we're learning it is that I'm reaching in and I'm reaching out. So when I reach out to God for something, I'm first reaching into me to remind me that I have the capacity to do this. And then I'm reaching out to God to help me do it. Okay? Again, we're not passive. We're not saying, God, please do everything. Or assuming we're going to have some miraculous X. We're not. What we're doing is, here, come take a Siddur. Come take a Siddur and a page. Okay. You know what? Maybe leave these over there. It'll be easier for people.
From last week?
Yeah, great. Okay, great. Okay. So again, in the bakashot, it's about reminding myself that I have massive unused capacity, and it's reaching out to God to help me get there. So let's go with, we're going to skip a few of the berachot, because I want to go straight into a few of the bakashot, and we'll come back. Ata chonen na'adam da'at. Look at the top of page 3. You graciously bestow kindness to man and teach mortals understanding. That's the straight English translation, okay? Chonen mitzcha chokhmah, bina v'da'at. Give us, we plead with you to give us chokhmah, which is wisdom, bina, which is understanding, let's say, and da'at, which we're going to talk about. Baruch atah Hashem chonen hadat. Now, this is a very, very important beracha. Thank you, honey. A very important beracha, and it's the top of page 3. It's the first of the requests. Yeah, it's the first of the requests, but I have to know what I'm asking for. So, when the word chokhmah, when we first talk about chokhmah, ta chonen na'adam da'at, it's built on the assumption of chokhmah. So let's go step by step. What is chokhmah? How do we explain chokhmah? It's translated into wisdom. How do we explain chokhmah from a Torah point of view? Who is the chacham or the chachama? The male or the female person of great intelligence is who? Who is that person? What has that person done to earn the title or the acknowledgement of being a chacham? What would you say? And not a specific person, good, not a specific person, but the title, right? If a man is a chacham, if a woman is chachama, right? What does a person have to do to become that? Learned. To be learned, good. Learned how? Well, who is the chacham? Very important. So we have the difference in Hebrew between the chacham and the mumche. The mumche is the expert. The mumche is the brain surgeon. The mumche is the plumber, right? The mumche is the expert in area X. The chacham is very different. The chacham, male or female, is the person who knows a lot about a lot and can comfortably and seamlessly move between all of those areas of knowledge. Again, the chacham isn't a specialist. It could be a chacham and a specialist, but the specialist isn't a chacham. The specialist knows a lot about something very narrow, and that's great. But the chacham knows a lot about a lot of different things, yeah? And he or she can easily, seamlessly move between one thing and the other. So, in the context of Torah, somebody knows a lot of Chumash, and knows some Talmud, and knows some Jewish law, and knows some Musad, Jewish ethics and philosophy, and he or she moves comfortably between those areas. That's a chacham. Okay? If the person only knew one area, Like the person only knew Talmud, for example, you'd say that person is a mumche, a specialist. So what's our goal? What do we want to be? We want to be chachamim, right? We want to know a lot about a lot. We want to know a lot about a lot, and we want to be able to move comfortably between all the areas we know. Got it? To know a lot. Now, in order for someone to know a lot about a lot, what is incumbent upon that person? In order for someone to know a lot about a lot, what do you have to do? Huh? Study. Exactly. So you have to be a perpetual student, right? You have to be a perpetual student to know a lot about a lot, right? Which means a day shouldn't go by in a person's life where he or she doesn't learn something new. It's a very simple setup, right? So, and we put it into very concrete terms. If someone, for example, simply learned something new once a day for 10 minutes, everybody's got 10 minutes, then at the end of a year, they would have 3,650 minutes of new knowledge. They're a different person. 10 minutes a day. Everybody's got 10 minutes. 1 second. And the Torah perspective is that I learn on a hatmada, with consistency, with kiviut, with one day after another not missing, and one compounds the other. So, my first paradigm when I'm reaching out to God to fulfill my requests is to set me up to be in a position for them to be fulfilled. So if I'm asking God to enhance my knowledge and my understanding, I got to first be a chaser of knowledge. Because God is not going to give the knowledge to me free, right? It's a partnership. It's me and Him. So because God's not going to give it to me free, I have to start, I have to initiate. It's great. But God says a very nice thing. He says, listen, you don't have to get yourself all the way there. You start, 10 minutes a day, for example, you start, and I will turbocharge your learning. For example, we have written in Sefer Shemot, when we're discussing the tabernacle, the Mishkan, it talks about the people who were designing the Mishkan, and it quotes about them, Ubelev kol chacham lev natati chokhmah. In the heart of everybody who has wisdom in his heart or hers, I will give wisdom. I want you to listen to it again. It's written 20 plus times in the Chumash, where every word is exacting. In the heart of everyone who has wisdom in his or her heart, I will give wisdom. What does that mean? Take it to the back, right? Person commits 10 minutes a day, now what? What's the deal? How does the system work? Again, let's build our structure. Person's supposed to be making himself or herself smart. We're going to start on this journey by saying we're going to go a minimum of 10 minutes a day. And that's because 10 minutes a day is many times better than an hour a week. And now we have all these new brain research studies and information, which says, and it's an old Torah value, but when I review something the next day, I move it from short-term memory to long-term memory. Otherwise, chances are I'm going to forget. So, for example, if you come to a class like this, a once-a-week class, it's great. The best move is take the class after and review 10 minutes a day. Then you will own it. Yeah? So you have the person who takes 10 minutes, an hour a day, 6 hours a day, whatever it is, more the better, and is learning and is growing and expanding his or her mind, yeah? And then what I do is I make sure those days are consistent so that I'm not going forward, slipping back, going forward, slipping back. I'm going forward, and then forward, and then forward, and it becomes cumulative. It's phenomenal, right? So the chacham is the person, male or female, who does that, right? Learning on a consistent basis every day, adding to what I know, yeah? Now, the chacham, again, unlike the expert or the mumche, is also learning about a lot of different things. So we should be Renaissance personalities in that perspective. We should be learning some Chumash, some Navi, some this, some that. And the reality is, our primary focus is Torah learning, of course, but everything on the planet, just about. I'm not talking about the things that are defiled and so on, but every area of knowledge effectively comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, comes from God. So our primary focus, of course, is Torah learning. That's our overwhelming focus. But there are a lot of beautiful expressions. There's great literature, and there's beautiful poetry, and there's spectacular music with real thought behind it. We should be people who are gobbling up knowledge all the time. Now, assuming that's where the person is, now the person turns to God and he says, I'm working hard on building my knowledge. I'm working hard on that. Give me binah. Ata chonen la'adam da'at u'melamed le'enosh binah. You're going to give me da'at, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But once I have chokhmah, once I have wisdom, right? I know a lot about a lot. Now we tell God, add to my wisdom and give me binah. Binah is understanding and discernment. What does that mean? Everybody here has a family, this, that. What does discernment mean? Understanding and discernment. What does it mean?
It's not that you take what you got from Hoffman and you see how you will apply it to your life.
Great, but excellent. But how? Go one more step. Apply it how? The application is how. What's the track for application here? Let me ask you something. One of a child comes to you with a concern, with a request, right? So you're going to listen carefully, right? Listen carefully, and then attempt to discern what the person is saying, to apply binah. What does that mean in this context? Discern means to listen to the meta messages, to the words beyond the words, to understand what he's really asking me for. Because most of the things that people ask us for frontally are not what they need, right? They're asking for X when really what they need is something other than X. Something other than X, yeah? And what does a person do? A person who's a chacham or chachama will then go ahead and use the knowledge he or she has attained to listen carefully to the words and make sure that we understand the meta message. And we know that 10% of communication is expressed in words and 90% in everything else, which means a person said, can you pass me the orange juice? And that, in that simple context, might mean that, but chances are, based on the tone, the inflection, the facial expression, the body language, based on that, he might be asking something else. And when a child in particular, young or old, asks for something, or a spouse, a child, a partner, asks for something, it's overwhelmingly not about the words, because the words are 10% of the story. So going back to where we are here, we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we say as follows, we are knowledge machines. We're learning something new every single day, and what we're learning is consistent and consecutive so that Tuesday's knowledge affirms what I learned on Monday, and Monday's knowledge on Sunday, and so on, right? Good. So I start by telling God, I am a knowledge machine. I'm committed to growing intellectually. Now, because I'm committed to do that, and I have consistency in that thing, I'm going to remember what I learn, I'm going to own it, and now I can turn to God and say, you know what, God, in real life, there's a lot of touch and go stuff. And if I slow down, if I listen more carefully, if I go beyond the obvious, and I listen to the messages beyond the words, I'm going to be much more effective in my role as a spouse, as a parent, as a whatever. So that's where we start. So when we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in this particular beracha, to give us da'at and binah, what we're saying is da'at is relationship. What we're saying is, God, listen, I took the first step. I'm committed to getting smarter. I took the first step. I want you to help me build my knowledge into the next level, which is discernment, which is greater levels of understanding, and then build my knowledge to da'at, which means my relationships are going to be better than ever. I don't want to lose you on this thing. I want to take a few more minutes on it. So is it true that the more I know about someone, the better my communication will be? Is that true? It's obviously true, right? The more I know, the more I understand. The more I know, the more I understand, the better my communication will be, right? Good. So, and the more I know about a subject, well, the greater that my vocabulary is, right? In certain places, they ask someone to learn a new vocabulary word every day. Why does that have massive value? It has massive value. One word. One. Learn one word a day. You know what? Let's learn one word a week. A week. That expands my ability to dream, to envision, to articulate an idea, to have an idea. So let's go with the premise. I'm going to recap. Stop me if there's anything not clear, because this is very actionable. We started in the beginning of the Amidah, of the silent prayer. We reminded ourselves who we are, our relationship to our forefathers, and our relationship to God. Pause. We're going to come back to that, but we have a premise. Now we're moving into the requests. The request is based on me, knowing me, reaching into me, building me, and because of what I'm doing with me, I'm asking God for His help. But if I'm doing nothing with me, what do I want from Him? As we've said many times, it ain't about sitting around praying with all our hearts, even though that's praying with all our hearts is very, very important, and expecting God to do everything. It's not a Jewish concept, it's very popular right now. It's not a Jewish concept, and it's not a serious concept. The serious concept is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu put us here with talents and opportunities and challenges to build, and He expects us to do so. So, before we request anything, as we're going to discuss, we have to first look at ourselves and say, am I in the game? You know, Labdil, if somebody walks into their boss's office and says, listen, Mr. Smith, I'd like to request a raise. Okay, Mr. Jones, I appreciate your request, but you haven't been in work for 3 months. I don't get your request. It's the same thing here. If I stand before God and I haven't made a serious effort, and I'm making a serious effort, what value do my words have? Not much. But if I'm standing in front of God and I've made some effort, my words have massive power. You know what, Mr. Smith? I've been on the job every single day, and therefore I deserve the standard raise and then some. The Havdil, when I stand in front of God, I say, God, listen, I am a perpetual student. I'm studying every day. I'm in the game. I'm much smarter than I was yesterday. And therefore, I want you to add another level of unearned smarts to what I earned and help me discern my child's needs, my spouse's needs. Help me discern it. Because I'll tell you from my own experience, we don't hear a lot of the story. Not because we're not listening, but we're not listening with intellect. We're not listening with depth of understanding. So, on this beracha we say as follows. Let's line up the system. Headline is, I reach into me, and then I reach out to God. That's the headline. Step 1, I got to get smarter every day. And that smarter is about knowing a lot about a lot. So, and today, everything is available, any language you want, anything you want. I got to be getting smarter every day, and I tell people, start with 10 minutes a day. Game changer. Game changer. Next, if I'm getting smarter, HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes a promise to me that if I'm getting smarter, he's going to add unearned smarts to my smarts. If I'm getting smarter, he is going to he's going to add unearned smart. So I deserve to go this high, he's going to give me a bump. I deserve that high, he's going to give me a bump, right? And then, after I've done that, or while I'm doing that, not after, while I'm doing that, he's going to give me the opportunity to understand things better than I have before. And in truth, when I reflect on my own experiences as a parent, my experiences in the business world, my experiences as a teacher, it's all about Bina. It's all about discernment. It's all about discernment. We're all pretty good listeners, but to listen to the extent where we're discerning, where we really hear the meta message, that's something very different. And I found in my own life, and you're all probably much better than me, but in my own life, I listen too much to the words and not enough to the meta message. What is the person saying when she says X? What does the person really mean when he approaches me with Y? And this is the game that we have to be in. And therefore, we're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu to take the knowledge that we've acquired, add to it. He's going to add to it. And then as he's doing that, he's going to give me the ability to distinguish the nuances, the tone, the but at the end of the sentence that wasn't actually articulated but is there. The facial expression that communicated something. That's what I want. That's where the truest truths are. And then because I'm a perpetual student, growing smarter every day, and because of that, God is adding to my smarts, and because of that, I have a greater depth of understanding of things, and I can deal with life much more effectively, then my relationships become altogether different. Give us wisdom, understanding, and da'at. Da'at is defined as relationship. Ignore what's written in the English here. It's wisdom, understanding, and relationship. Okay, good. Thoughts? Any thoughts on this? Yeah.
It just is, to me, it's interesting that this first quest, it's all intellectual. It's not about the heart.
Oh, excellent.
It's all.
It's actually not strictly intellectual. We hold that the greatest thinking goes on in what we call the sechvi, which is what you would call in modern terms emotional intelligence. So it's where the mind and the emotion meet. And when we reference these things in tefillah, it's an important question you're raising. When we reference these things in tefillah, we're not referencing the strict intellect, because that's too limited. We're referencing where our biggest choices happen, which is in our sechvi, which is our heart or our emotional intellect, the place of emotional intelligence. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I think just naturally women have more than that.
No question. There's no question. That's it's true. Women unquestionably have a higher level of discernment than men. There's no question about it. And therefore, you have a higher level of potential. As you grow your knowledge, your discernment will grow disproportionately faster. And the reality is, the women have a greater level of discernment and understanding than men do because they have to. Because a man can fill certain roles in building a family, a community, and so on. And the woman will fill much more integral roles, much more sensitive roles, and that's why she has a greater sense of discernment. And what we have to do, because we've been given that gift, we have to build it, we have to use it.
Also, the term chacham, is that like
In colloquial terms, it is, but in classic Torah terms, it's not. Great. Questions? Yeah.
I thought here that we're asking for the clarity to learn also from our mistakes, to find the wisdom in it, and also Hashem should grant us that we should also be able to the instincts that we have.
Well, your emotional intelligence, you could call your instinct.
The clarity of our instincts. I think
Yeah.
the instinct is
Right.
better to, I think.
So we would call instinct binah.
Right.
We would call instinct binah.
Like that's where Hashem is always whispering
Yeah,
to us.
great. But most of excellent. But most of what he's whispering, we don't hear. That's the problem.
We're asking for it here.
We're asking for it. But if you tell a child without a vocabulary, you explain to him a complex scientific model or a complex Torah model to a child who doesn't have the vocabulary, it's going to go right past him, right? But if the child has the vocabulary and then this Torah model is described to him, he's going to do great. Point being that I'm in charge of all the good that comes to me. I've got to build the vessel for it. The more I know, the more I can get. The smarter I am, the more I can get. The stronger my understanding, the more I can get. A dull person, even if God showers on him certain things, can't work with it anyway. Right? So that's the point. The point is, I'm the vessel. Why do we say that the vessel comes first, right? The vessel has to come first, always does. Because if the vessel isn't refined and continually being refined, God could pour all kinds of great stuff and it's going to leak right out. And that's what happens very often. So what do we want to do? We want to be perpetually getting smarter. As we said before you came, 10 minutes a day, at least you're 10 minutes. If you go to 3 one-hour classes a week, or you go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 60-minute classes, and you, on the other hand, learn consistently 10 minutes a day, you're much better off with the 10 minutes a day. What do you mean? 10 minutes a day is only 70 minutes. 3 one-hour classes, 180 minutes. True. But just open today. We have the things that we don't need any verification of Torah principles, but we have the things that say very clearly, if you don't reaffirm what you learned yesterday, the next day, you will forget it. It stays in your short-term memory and then is out. So when we do these happenstance, intermittent things, it has value for the minute, but it doesn't have value in terms of personal growth. So that's why we hold with hatmada, we hold with kiviut, which means that a person is learning every day. And again, if you can learn an hour a day and make the 3 hours of classes a week 7 hours or 6 hours a week, grand slam. But if you can't, you're better off with 10 minutes a day than 3 hours broken, because you will retain. And therefore, to your point, to the extent that I built myself and I keep building myself as a vessel, I can internalize more knowledge. We said that we have reference in Torah, several references to the fact that when I work hard to acquire knowledge, God will benefit me with unearned knowledge. It's written 26 or 27 times in the Chumash, pretty remarkable. Very rare that you have something repeated that often. And then if I become a knowledge machine, then the nuanced stuff, the Binah-related stuff, God could give me more, right? The trained doctor will understand a lot more than the first-year medical student, right? He'll understand a lot more. I can teach him a lot more. I can make it more difficult, right? The 8th grader will understand a lot more than the 1st grader. So it's the same premise. The more I know, the harder I've tried, the smarter I am, the more God could give me. And if he gives me, if I'm not there, and he dumps a whole load of stuff on me, I'm not going to be able to work with it anyway. So whenever we make a request in the Amidah or at any other time, we have to first remember that the Kli, The vessel has to be ready for the blessing. And in the context of smarts, interestingly, that's where we start, right? You would think, let me start with whatever. But we start with smarts. You know why? Because the smarts is everything. The better choices I make, the more informed choices, the nuanced things I hear from my kids, from my associates, all about that. Yeah? Does that work? Other thoughts? Yeah.
A little bit of a touchy subject, but what about like dementia, Alzheimer's, memory loss?
Very nice. It's a very, very interesting question. It's a very interesting question. It's a bigger discussion, but I'll give you, I taught this at one point a number of years ago. So I'm going to give it to you in 1 minute, but if you want to learn it more in detail, we will. So the reason I went to learn about it is because Rabbi Soloveitchik, one of the greatest Ashkenazi giants of the 20th century, got some form of Alzheimer's. Now, this was a Torah giant, one of the greatest who ever lived. And so did my mother. And so it's a horrible, horrible disease, horrible. Lo aleinu. And I was really in pain from it. So I started to study it from a Torah perspective. And what I understand, and I don't want to give it over to 1 minute because it's a more complicated conversation, I'm happy to have it. But what I understand is that what we learned, that the ideas that we developed and achieved move into another reality. And they're part of us forever. That's my understanding of it. I'll say it again. Somebody achieved all this knowledge, it's in his mind, right? Now, a horrific disease kicks in, lo aleinu. Is it gone or is it inaccessible? This Shita said that it's inaccessible, which would mean that when I develop an idea here in my mind, I also develop it in a greater place. Because if it was limited to my mind, it would be gone with the person. You with me? Step by step, yeah? This now it's so many people, it's affecting so many people, lo aleinu. The question is like this: is it gone? Is everything the person did gone? Is everything he or she felt? Everything he or she studied? Everything he or she taught? Is it gone? That's one possibility. Second possibility is it's not gone, but it's inaccessible. There's a strong number of opinions on that it's not gone, but it's inaccessible. In other words, when that neshama comes back for its next iteration, it will lay claim to those ideas again. And the third opinion, it's an iteration of the second, is that it's stored away in a different place. And it's forever. It's an iteration of the second point. It's very similar to the second point. But it's that it's stored away in a separate place. And it's never lost. To say that it's lost is very, very difficult to say. Very, very difficult. To say that it's inaccessible, that to me is more palatable. And again, at the time, I did research in a number of Torah sources and a number of Kabbalistic related sources and medical sources. And very briefly, that's what it came to. Some opinions say it's gone, but the more prevalent opinions are that it's inaccessible and or inaccessible but permanently stored and saved. Because in fact, what am I if not my knowledge and my ideas and what I felt emotionally? What am I? At the end, what is a person if he's not his or her ideas and intellectual understanding and emotional articulation? What's a person other than that? There isn't anything other than that. So you're going to tell me that a disease will be worse than death? That a disease can wipe out everything a person was? More so than death? I don't hold that to be the case. And that's why I felt more comfortable with the second and third possibility. Second possibility is that the information is inaccessible but never lost. And the third possibility is that it's inaccessible but never lost and also placed in a greater reality, which to me makes maximal sense, because if we're not, our ideas and what we achieved intellectually and the midot and the character traits that we developed personally, if we're not that, after 120 years, what are we? What are we? Of course we're that. So to say that that's gone doesn't make sense. So that's my quick response on that.
A healthy man.
Huh?
A healthy man doesn't have access to all his knowledge. Isn't that
A healthy?
someone that doesn't have a disease? You know what I mean? But you still a human. A man doesn't have access of all his.
Does not? Why? A healthy person does not, you're saying?
Yeah,
I think a healthy person does if the knowledge is current.
I think that we don't have access to all we know. We just use a certain amount.
You know why? In my opinion, because it's not freshened up every day. It's not fresh enough. When it's fresh, you're a killer. And when it's fresh with the following way, you know, when the best thing when you're studying, or reading for that matter, is with a pencil in hand and a highlighter, right? All of my books have massive notes in them. Isaac does the same, as it turns out. All of my books have massive notes in the columns. So when you read, you should read with a pencil and a highlighter. The highlighter highlights the author's ideas, or the ideas in the language of the rabbis or the Torah itself. And the pencil is for writing our ideas in the margins. So this way, the knowledge is internalized more deeply and stays more frontal as well, and I have access to it. But a lot of our knowledge we don't have access to because it's dormant, because it hasn't been refreshed. And the reality is, you know, we must be getting smarter every day. We have to. It's a very big Torah imperative. Great. Any other questions? Okay. So chonen hadat, right? Give me the mercy to build relationships, right? Chonen hadat. Da'at is relationships. Give me the mercy to build relationships. What's the cornerstone of relationships? Wisdom and understanding and discernment. Chokhmah, binah, da'at. Wisdom, understanding, i.e. discernment, and that yields a great relationship. Discernment means, very good. Discernment means the ability to distinguish the difference between two overwhelmingly similar things. So if I've sharpened my mind with constant knowledge, I'm getting smarter, then my ability to discern becomes much more acute. And my ability to see the subtle differences in a person's tone, in a person's facial expression, in the different terms that the author uses in the beginning of the paragraph and the end, or that HaKadosh Baruch Hu lists in the beginning of the parasha and later on. Discernment is a very high level of understanding. To what a few of you said earlier, women have a naturally greater level of discernment than men, and that means they have to build it more than men. Because if you've been inherently given a greater level of discernment, it means you're going to be called upon to use it. And that's why a father can only go so far in parenting his children. A father can only go so far. If the mother is not intelligent and sophisticated and well-read, it doesn't work. It can't. Father can't do it. Oh, he's the big shot. He's earning big money. He's building a business. Very good. Very nice. But you know who gets it better? The mother gets it better. But she doesn't get it better if her intellect has been shut down. So it's all connected. Knowledge, understanding, discernment, right? The subtle differences I tell the men when they learn it, you can make a very big difference in terms of your success or failure if you choose this level of orange t-shirt or that level of orange t-shirt. Yeah, my brother Morris taught me that. He'd be looking at 6 pallets of orange. And to me, it's one same color. But he was incredibly talented, and he had the ability to discern what was happening that moment in the market to say that it was this or that. Okay, that's a trivial example, but in the context of relationships, relationship with God, and so on, discernment is a very big factor. Good. Let's go.
Experience.
Huh?
What about experience?
What about experience? So experience can be maximally effective or less. In other words, if a person is not growing intellectually, they can only develop in their minds the experience up to a certain point, right? Here again, if an accomplished surgeon has a certain experience because of all of what he learned before, he's going to go much further with it than the first-year medical student because he has much more to work with. So experience has value based on knowledge. And that's why we have an interesting question. You have to stand up for an elderly person who is ignorant. It's a very good question. On the one hand, you have to show respect to someone older, particularly an elderly person. On the other hand, he's ignorant. What do? It's a question. Because the assumption that somebody got smarter because they got older isn't true. They could have gotten older and not smarter. So it has to be both. Has to be both. I should have, and I hold this way very strongly, a woman should have her own Torah library. Absolutely have your own library. I told the story many times. I'll tell it one more time very quickly. Rabbi Harari alav shalom. We were 17 in Young Sharet Zion, right? High school kids. He said, I want everybody to buy a book a month. We said, a Torah book. We said, what are we going to do with it? And we were learning. No, we were the fanatics at the time. We were learning Torah, right? Buy a book a month. He said, put it on your shelf. Even if you just put it on your shelf, no problem. We did. Then I went to Israel for the year. He said, buy a book a week, right? My wife will attest to this. My mother used to say, Ricky, do you read all those books? She asked me a few thousand times. He said, buy a book a week. And we did. So you become a lover of books. And the reality is, even if you open them every so often, when there are books in the home, particularly Torah books, it teaches your children who they are. And if they're mom's Torah books, that's a mind blower altogether. And everybody should have them. And you should have them, of course, because you use them, but even if it takes time to acclimate to using them, you should have them. So we want to get smarter every day. We want to use the tools that we have. I'm also a very, very strong advocate of ink on paper. As much as books online are valuable, and in the kollel we'll pull up the computer screen every so often. We'll access a book, even though they have a spectacular selection of sefarim in the place. We'll access something that's not, but it's never the same as having the paper in front of you. Tell you one other quick story. Yeah, go ahead.
I do most of my reading on Shabbat. Are you allowed to use flags?
No. So you know what you should do? You're making a very, very important point. Our intellectual level on Shabbat is greater. So your chances of remembering are greater than if you're reading on Sunday. But take an hour after Shabbat or a half hour Sunday morning and just review. Yeah, go back. Then you own it because you started in a higher intellectual plane on Shabbat. So you're going to have a greater level of cognition, of understanding, and a greater level of memory. And then if you lock it in after, it's great. Beautiful. Questions, thoughts? We're okay? Okay. I want to skip one and we're going to come back. Re'ena ba'onyenu. Actually, I'm skipping two, and we'll come back. Le'ena bo'onyenu, right? Turn to the top of page 4. Behold, please our affliction and fight our battle and speedily redeem us with a complete redemption for your name, and so on. Now, Re'ena bo'onyenu, right? Okay, I'm on the top of page 4, but I'm going to give you the interpretation, not the explanation, right? You see it on top of page 4? Re'ena bo'onyenu doesn't simply mean see our affliction. It means see our affliction, bagadol, like what's going on in Israel right now, or the horrific level of anti-Semitic incidents that are going on all over the Western world right now, frighteningly so. It's about that, but no less, or possibly more, the Re'ena bo'onyenu means, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, take a look at the things that are causing me inui, that are squeezing me, that are causing me not stress, it's more than stress, it's an emotional level of concern and heartache and so on. That's what we're referencing here. Take a look at those things, v'rivarivenu, and help me fight that fight, right? Re'ena bo'onyenu. Most people read it in the collective. It's not only meant to be read in the collective. In fact, of course it's meant to be read in the individual. Re'ena bo'onyenu. Look at the things that are squeezing me. Inui nefesh is what squeezes me. Look at the things that are causing that. And ivarivenu, and fight my fights. Of course, immediately and quickly bring us redemption. But this prayer is meant to be read on 2 levels, on collective and on the individual. Bring us a collective redemption and bring me an individual redemption. Look at the areas where I'm squozen. Remember that? Look at the areas where I'm squozen, so to speak. It's not a real word, but some people use it. Look at the areas where I'm being squeezed, right? Look at the areas where I'm being squeezed and help me. Fight my battle for me. Help me get out of it. Help me be redeemed in this respect. Now, if we go back to our cardinal point, which is that if I want God's help, I got to be in the self-help game first. What would that mean here for this beracha?
Trying to make a change as well.
Huh?
But you're trying.
I'm trying, right? I'm trying. The inui nefesh, that which is, right? Why is that probably happening? Why is it happening? Inui nefesh is very, very rough. It's rough. It's painful. It's scary. When you're being squeezed, it's painful, right? Why would it happen? Huh?
But when you're being something that is difficult to cope with,
Right.
it could also be your yetzer hara.
Right.
A yetzer hara on a certain level. And you need to recognize.
I need to recognize what's pulling me in the wrong direction and what that wrong direction pull is. Beautiful. Excellent. So I need to recognize what's pulling me in the wrong direction and what that is. And by the way, the wrong direction could be a lot of seemingly non-toxic things. It could be just killing time, wasting time, not investing in the right efforts, not investing in the right people. It could be stuff like that. It doesn't have to be something bad. It could just be the lack of good, the absence of good. So when we talk about the inui, that which is squeezing us and pressuring us, we have to look at to what extent did I step into this thing, not to self-blame, but to understand what drew me here so I can understand what could get me out. I was drawn to this place or this person or this situation because of a need in me that I have to address, that I have to change. And when I change that, as I'm changing it, I'm asking God to give me the strength to get out. Yeah.
Also, you're not allowing the space for the good to come in if you're involved in the bed.
Exactly. I'm consumed. I can't see straight.
Really good.
Yeah.
I believe what you're saying, what you said before, it's not just on the personal level, it's on the national level.
It's what? It's on the micro and the macro. Right.
That's something that we can't ignore at the same time.
Excellent. So I don't want you to forget when you read this beracha that it's also on the micro level. Everybody reads this on the macro level. Bring the hostages home. Period. The most horrific expression of the world's cruelty, and I don't know that the Jews are blamed for the fact that these sick, filthy murderers and animals are starving and torturing people, and we're blamed. Okay, good. So when we say the Einam Bo'onyenu, that's what we're talking about. But what else we're talking about, not on that catastrophic level, is the things where I feel I don't know what to do. I'm feeling squeezed. I'm feeling pressured. I don't know. Help me figure it out. So I acknowledge it, and by acknowledging it, I ask God's help, but I also remind myself that it's going to come from me and Him. It's going to come from me and Him together. Fight my fight with me. Maher, ga'alenu golash le'olam l'man shmecha. Bring me a redemption. Bring me a freedom from this. So, here again, it's always about me and then God, me claiming my core strengths and possibilities, and then asking God to help me. In the first case, it's about knowledge and discernment, which yields relationship building. In the second case, it's about acknowledging the fact that this particular beracha is not only spoken to the general issues that afflict the Jewish people, and us reaching out to God and asking His help in those, but it's also about the areas where a person feels that this kind of thing. You say, you know what, God, help me with this thing. I want to be helped. I'm willing to figure it out. I'm not going to depend solely on you, but I'm going to work, and you help me. Bring me redemption. Now, one final point on this thing. Redemption is not the flick of a switch. Redemption is always causal, incremental, and gradual. And if the redemption is coming slowly, it doesn't mean it's not real. In fact, it's the opposite. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells the Jewish people, he tells Moshe Rabbeinu to tell the Jewish people that they're going to be redeemed, padot pteh, right? Ge'ol ga'al. Meaning it's a process. It's a process. It's going to take time. So in this case, I want to acknowledge that what I'm feeling is real. I want to acknowledge that being squeezed or tormented like a terrorist would do, lo aleinu, is real. Sometimes it's global. Sometimes it's personal. In either case, when I say this beracha, I can relate to it, and I can affirm myself that God is going to help me make it pass based on my introspection, taking steps forward, and trying to change. And we also say one other thing in Judaism, very, very important. It's baby steps. It's always baby steps. And it's invariably one step forward, half a step back. That's the way it works. If I want to build character, it's not one step forward, 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 forward. It's never that way. It's one step forward, half a step back. If you're going through an experience where you're moving one step forward, push back half a step, and then moving one step forward again, you're a champion. Because that's the way it turns into real growth. Good.
Question?
Yeah.
I never know if it's done or not, but when you read in English here, our affliction and our battle,
Right.
can I read it as I have a close relationship with God, and this is His battle too, it's His affliction too? It's when they say our, it's me and
Well, that's very nice.
not me.
HaKadosh Baruch Hu, yours and mine.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a beautiful way to read it. Beautiful way to read it. Because God doesn't want us to feel pain. So if we're feeling pain, He's also feeling our pain. That we can bank on. Nice. Any other questions? All right. Thank you. Great day. Huh?